It started with a glance, one of those long, silent stares that says more than words ever could. Cordell sat across from his father at the family dinner table, the clink of silverware echoing in a room heavy with unspoken tension. Snoop barely touched his plate. His eyes, always cool and composed, seemed distant, detached. Cordell couldn't hold it in anymore. "You know what, man? I'm tired of pretending. Every time I try to talk to you about what I'm building, it's like you don't care." The room froze. Tasha looked up, her fork halfway to her mouth. Even the music in the background seemed to hush itself. Snoop sighed. "Ain't about not caring, lil man. I just don't see how NFTs and fashion lines are supposed to matter when the game that fed us is being forgotten." "That's the problem," Cordell snapped. "You think the only way to be valid is through a mic. But I'm not you. I'm not trying to be another version of you." A long silence followed, the kind that ages a room. Snoop leaned back, folding his arms. "Maybe I just don't want you to forget where you come from." Cordell stood. "I didn't forget. You just never asked where I'm trying to go." And just like that, he was gone. Door swinging shut behind him, footsteps fading into the LA night. Before we dive deeper into this emotional journey between father and son, make sure to subscribe for more real-life stories that reveal the heart behind the headlines. Later that night, Cordell drove through familiar streets, past the same corners where his father once made his name. Murals of Snoop Dogg stared back at him from brick walls, immortalized in spray paint and memory. He loved his father, respected everything he'd built, but sometimes it felt like being his son was more of a shadow than a legacy. He pulled over, palms gripping the wheel. "Why does he only listen when I fail?" he whispered to himself. Back at home, Tasha found Snoop still at the table, eyes fixed on the untouched plate. She sat beside him, touching his hand gently. "You know he's not trying to hurt you," she said softly. Snoop didn't respond right away. When he did, his voice was lower than usual. "I just don't get it. We fought so hard to give him everything, and now he wants to turn his back on it like it's some burden." "He's not turning his back," Tasha said. "He's trying to carry it his own way." Snoop nodded slowly, but the crease between his brows didn't ease. He wasn't angry, not really. He was afraid. Afraid that the things he built, the values that saved his life, were being tossed aside by a world moving too fast. 2 days passed in silence. Cordell avoided home, focused on packing. New York was calling. A film fellowship. Fresh start. Far from LA, far from the weight of being his son. Tasha watched them drift, caught in the middle of 2 stubborn hearts beating in sync, but speaking different languages. She'd seen it coming. The tension, the misunderstanding. She warned Snoop, but sometimes people have to hit silence before they hear each other again. On the morning of his flight, Cordell stood by his car, keys in hand, bag at his feet. He looked up at the house one last time. No one came out. No words were exchanged. Just silence. And silence sometimes says everything. The garage smelled like dust and vinyl, a scent that hadn't changed in decades. Snoop stood alone, the overhead light flickering softly above him. He hadn't been in this space in years, but today something pulled him back. Maybe it was Cordell's words, maybe it was the silence that followed them. He walked past the old crates, some still filled with cassette tapes, others with broken headphones and scratched-up CDs. In the corner stood a rusted mic stand, the same one he used when Death Row first handed him a beat and a dream. He ran his hand along the cool metal. It shook slightly at his touch. So much had started here, but also so much had almost ended. He sat on the stool beside it, letting his thoughts drift back to the night he'd never really spoken about. The night everything changed. The night he almost walked away from it all. It was 1996. He'd just finished a long session when the call came through. Tupac was gone. The studio went silent, not just in sound, in soul. He remembered stepping outside, phone still in hand, the streetlight casting long shadows on the pavement. He didn't cry then, not right away. But when he got back in that booth, the pain crashed in. His voice cracked. Words failed him. The beat looped endlessly as he sat there, head in hands. Nobody knew that part, not even Dre. Not even Tasha. He didn't record anything for weeks after, didn't touch a mic, Didn't write, didn't smoke, just sat here, in this room, with that rusted mic watching him like a ghost refusing to leave. I was gonna quit, he whispered now, his voice barely louder than the hum of the old fridge in the next room. I really was. That memory had never left. The fear, the sense of betrayal. How the world could take someone like Pac, just like that, and keep spinning. He didn't want to be next. He didn't want to lose himself in something that chewed you up and forgot your name the second you were gone. But then, Cordell was born. And everything shifted. He didn't quit. Couldn't. Because suddenly the music wasn't about fame or legacy. It was about staying alive. About building something his son could see, touch, believe in. He just never told him that. Back in the present, Snoop closed his eyes. The sound of a distant lawnmower buzzed in the background. A siren wailed down the street, but all he could hear was his own heartbeat. Slow, steady, haunted by what-ifs. Tasha found him there an hour later, still seated, still silent. "You haven't been in here since June bug passed," she said gently, stepping in, her arms folded against the chill of the garage. He nodded. Felt like time. She looked around, her eyes settling on the mic stand. "So, this is where it happened?" "Yeah." "Where you almost walked away?" He looked at her then. Really looked. "Yeah." She didn't press, just walked over and sat beside him. After a few moments, she said, "Cordell doesn't know that story. Maybe it's time he did." Snoop exhaled slowly, eyes still on the mic. "I don't know how." "You start with the truth," she said. "The rest follows." Outside, the sun dipped behind the palm trees, casting long streaks of amber through the cracked window. Inside, something old was stirring. Not regret, not pain, but readiness. The phone buzzed at 11:47 p.m. Cordell had just finished zipping his suitcase, the last of his things neatly stacked by the door. His flight was in the morning. New York felt like more than a change of city. It felt like escape. He glanced at the screen. A voice message from Dad. Not a text, not a call, just a recording. His thumb hovered over the play button for a moment before he tapped it. Snoop's voice came through low and uneven. "Yo, I ain't good at this, but look, if you still in town, come by the studio, the old one, just once. There's something I need you to hear. Not trying to talk, just listen." No explanation, no apology, just a request. Cordell stared at the phone. For a second, he considered ignoring it. He had every reason to. But something about that voice, like gravel under pressure, pulled at him. 20 minutes later, he was parked outside the same garage he used to sneak into as a kid, watching his father work through smoky windows. The engine idled. His fingers tapped the steering wheel, doubt gnawed at him. But then he opened the door. Inside, the air felt thick, nostalgia mixed with nerves. Snoop was already there, standing beside the mic stand like a soldier at a post. He didn't look up right away. "You came," he said finally, eyes on the wall. "You said you wanted me to listen," Cordell replied. "So here I am." No handshake, no hug, just a nod. Snoop walked over to the old stereo system, inserted a CD and pressed play. A beat filled the room, dark, slow, raw. Then came the voice, Snoop's, but not the one Cordell knew. This was younger, sharper, trembling with rage. The lyrics were sharp-edged confessions, anger over losing Tupac, fury at the industry, fear of dying before his son would ever remember his face. "I was ready to let it all burn," the recording said. "Leave the mic, leave the name. Just be Calvin." Cordell stood still, hands clenched at his sides. When the track ended, silence fell. Snoop finally turned to face him. "I never played that for anyone," he said. "Not Dre, not even your mom." Cordell's voice came out quieter than he expected. "Why now?" Snoop took a breath, steadying himself. "Because that night I was done. I didn't think I had anything left. But then we found out your mom was pregnant. With you." He looked at his son, his gaze open, unshielded. "I stayed in the game because of that. Because I wanted you to see a version of me that didn't quit when it hurt." Cordell blinked, trying to find words. You never told me. I ain't know how, Snoop said. I only knew how to show you by keeping on. But maybe that was a mistake. The tension between them didn't disappear, but it shifted. It softened, became something else. Recognition. Maybe even understanding. Cordell looked at the mic stand, its rust catching the low light. I thought you didn't respect what I do, he said. I do, Snoop answered. I just didn't know how to say it. I was scared you'd forget what built all this. I didn't forget, Cordell said. I just wanted to build something too. The silence that followed didn't sting this time, it settled. And in that stillness, for the first time in years, they both stood as men, not as icon and shadow, just father and son. Cordell sat down on the floor first, his back resting against an old amp. Snoop followed a moment later, lowering himself with a quiet grunt, legs crossed, elbows on knees. Neither spoke at first. Then Cordell broke the silence. I always thought you expected me to become some kind of second coming. Like, if I wasn't holding a mic, I wasn't worthy of your name. Snoop shook his head slowly. Nah, man, it wasn't that. I was just scared. Cordell looked over, eyebrows raised. Of what? Of losing you, Snoop said. Same way I lost a lot of people. Fame's a lonely ride, Dogg. You watch people love your image but forget your soul. I wanted to protect you from that, but I ain't realize I was doing it wrong. Cordell leaned his head back against the amp. I didn't want protection. I wanted presence. Those words hit deep. Snoop nodded, lips tight, eyes glossy but steady. I missed a lot of your games, he admitted. Missed birthdays. I thought money and legacy would fill in the blanks. But that ain't how it works, huh? Cordell's voice was quiet. I didn't need a legend. I just needed a dad who listened. The weight in the room shifted again, from confession to connection. Snoop looked around. You remember when you were 8 and came in here with that busted-up camcorder trying to film me while I was in the booth? Cordell cracked a smile. You told me to stop recording or you'd charge me studio time. Snoop laughed, the sound soft and real. I was dead serious. You always been serious about your craft, Cordell said. I used to think you didn't see what I was trying to do with mine. I didn't, Snoop admitted. Not at first, but that's on me. I thought building my world meant you had to stay in it. I didn't get you were trying to build your own. Cordell turned to him. I'm not trying to escape you, I'm just trying to evolve you. That made Snoop pause. He looked at his son with new eyes. That's deep, man. They sat in silence again, but it was peaceful now, familiar. Snoop reached for his phone, pulled up a beat he'd been working on, something slow, soulful, layered with echoes of old school and hints of something new. He handed one earbud to Cordell. Try something, he said. Cordell hesitated. You want me to rap? Whatever comes out. Just be real. The beat played, and at first there was only breath. Then Cordell spoke. Not in rhyme, not in rhythm, just in truth. I was a boy with a giant's shadow, trying to fit in shoes that didn't fit, trying to earn what was already mine. And now I'm just a man reaching back, hoping you'll walk beside me instead of in front. Snoop closed his eyes. Let the words settle. Then he added his voice, calm, measured, seasoned. I was a king with a crown too heavy, looking back wishing I'd taught you how to carry it, not just watch me wear it. They passed the mic back and forth, not recording, not performing, just healing. At one point, Cordell glanced at the old mic stand, reached out, touched it. I get it now, he said. Snoop looked at him. Yeah? Cordell nodded. It wasn't just a tool, it was your anchor, Snoop smiled. And now maybe it can be ours. For the first time in years, the distance didn't feel like a wall. It felt like a bridge. Weeks later, the internet lit up. A short film titled Legacy and Love dropped without warning. Co-directed by Cordell Broadus and narrated by Snoop Dogg, it opened with a single image, a rusted mic stand, standing alone in a dimly lit garage. The voiceover was intimate. This mic saw me cry, saw me break, saw me choose to stay when leaving seemed easier. But what it never saw, what I never let it see, was me being a father, not a rapper. Until now. The film wove together home videos, studio clips, and raw monologues. No flashy edits, just truth. Viewers saw Snoop not as the legend, but the man behind the name. They saw Cordell not as the son of fame, but as the builder of his own voice. Together, they painted a picture that wasn't perfect, but it was powerful. It trended for days. Cordell watched from behind the scenes, not seeking applause, but feeling something new: peace. He didn't have to prove anything anymore. Not to his father, not to the world. And Snoop, he showed up. To Cordell's film screening in downtown LA, wearing a hoodie and shades, quiet in the back row. He didn't need the spotlight. That night it belonged to his son. Afterward, they stood outside on the curb, lights of the city flickering across their faces. "You proud of me?" Cordell asked. Snoop looked him in the eye. "I always was. I just didn't know how to show it." They didn't hug, didn't need to. From that night on, something shifted. Snoop started asking questions, real ones, about Cordell's projects, his vision, his ideas. He even offered advice, not from the throne, but from the bench beside him. Cordell, in turn, invited his dad to meet his team, listen to pitches, sit in on creative sessions. Not as a guest, as a partner. They still argued, still saw the world differently. But now they listened. One Sunday afternoon, back in the same garage, they worked on a new project. Not a song, not a film. Something in between. Cordell sat at his laptop sketching out visuals. Snoop was pacing, humming a hook under his breath. "You know what this is?" Cordell asked suddenly. "What?" "It's not about music or movies. It's about building something with what we've both been through." Snoop stopped pacing, nodded slowly. "It's about legacy." "Yeah," Cordell said, "but not the kind the world worships. The kind that lives in rooms like this." Outside, the sun dipped behind the palms, casting a familiar amber glow through the window. Inside, the rusted mic stand still stood, but now it wasn't a relic of pain. It was a witness to healing. If this story moved you, hit that subscribe button. These aren't just stories, they're windows into real lives, real moments, and real connections. And if you want more like this, don't miss the next video. A deeper dive into how Snoop built an empire out of pain, beats, and perseverance. Click it now to keep the story going. As for Cordell and Snoop, they kept building, kept showing up, kept choosing each other. Because sometimes the most powerful legacy isn't the one you leave behind, it's the one you build together.